stream, be that on YouTube or Facebook. Maybe tag someone across your social media channels and put in a question. So interact with us. This is an interactive show, folks. It does require you to sort of talk to me. Otherwise, you'll just have me talking at you for the next hour. And I want to be able to answer your questions, and I want us to take the spiritualist philosophy conversation in any direction, any way, shape or form you desire. So start thinking about some wonderful questions. In order to test that you are interacting well, let me know where you're watching the show from tonight, folks. Say hello, and we will try and give you a readout across the screen. Now, and I say across Facebook and YouTube. So Carrie Kearns, good evening, and hello, Richard. Hiya, Carrie. Welcome this evening. Carol McDowell, good evening to you on YouTube, joining us there. Lovely. Is it Penelope? I can't say it right. Hello, everybody. Penelope. There we go. Penelope. I should be able to say that name. I recently actually got that name from Spirit and gave it to someone during their naming service. Cindy Woodside on Facebook. Good evening to you. I have to find my spiritualist teeth. Make sure when I'm doing these words. Karen McDowell. Oh, no sound, Richard. Okay. You might have missed my rewind again. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Spiritual Psychics TV. I'm your host, Ashley Robinson. So it's Spiritualist Philosophy show this evening. Ask Ash anything. Hiya, Leslie Moulton. I've been doing some readouts for some of your names. Those names come into the studio. So you've not missed too much yet, folks. We're just explaining the concept of the show. Daddy Ray Robinson there saying hello on YouTube. Good evening, Ashley. It's been a wonderful show. Lovely to have you on there. Ali Nat from Huddersfield. Good evening, Ali. Lovely. I love the way you spell your name there as well. Alison Lett from Ontario, Canada. First Canadian to say good evening tonight. Hi, Alison. Lovely to hear from some friends across the pond towards Canada. Myra joins us from Baltimore. Would love a message from a loved one. Well, Maya, get us some questions in. So I'll be giving messages to people who have asked us some questions. Carol McDowell from Glasgow, right at the tip of the United Kingdom. Lovely to hear from you as well, Carol. And good evening to all of you. So I won't be able to read all of your names, folks. We'll do a couple of more specific hellos. Jade Fleming, good evening to you. And how do I know if I have a gift? Well, great question, Jade. And actually, we all have the ability to work with the gifts of spirit, as I call them. You know, gifts of things like healing and mediumship. Some of us are more naturally attuned to certain things. I've mentioned this a couple of times before, Jade. You know, for example, we can probably all sing. Most of us with vocal cords have the ability to produce a noise. Some of us are more naturally gifted when it comes to singing. We are all capable of spending time and money going to see someone like a tutor or an instructor that could teach us how to sing. Different flavors of singing, different varieties and ways of doing it. But, you know, if you sing every day and you practice every day and you learn every day, you're better and better and better. So, Jade, everyone has the ability to work with the gifts of mediumship, and it's all about attunement. It's about practice. And what I'd recommend is finding yourself a good local spiritualist church or centre, joining an open or closed circle, getting a circle leader, and they can start to help you to work with those gifts. Well, I'll give you a reading. So what I say, folks, anyone that asks a question this evening is giving me consent to read for them as well. If you don't want me to read for you, please put that in the question, and I'll do a combination of some spiritualist mediumship and some psychic stuff this evening. But Jade, what I wanted to say to you, I've got this real element within mind's eye of a door and a doorway and a portal, and this portal looks like it's going into the sort of the side of the hill and disappearing in. It's a steeped hill within that burial chamber, and death like change goes through, but death in terms of closure, of completion, of finishing, of transition, flowers. And I'm surrounding the sensation of the end of this transition, the end of this chapter. The mood is somber. The mood is sad. As we come end of chapter there. So number 16, the death card, also drawn my deck of cards there this evening. So Jay, with the psychic elements I picked up on there, you would understand the element of closure. You'd understand that something within your life, a significant chapter of your life, coming to an end and into something new. And I want to say chapter as opposed to end of story. I feel that this is about transition, this is about progression, and actually I'm being told that there's an element of relief as you move on, but end of something, beginnings of something new. And there's this portal. You mentioned a question there about working with the gifts, and I do feel that there's an element of you closing some of your thinking around how this would work and opening up to the concept of working with different gifts in different ways. So good luck and best wishes to you, that Jade, and I do hope you've understood your card. Okay, great to get in there with the first question, folks. So please do share the stream. We want to continue to build SPTV UK. If you are based in the UK, there's lots of events. Newbie from Notts, hiya Linda. You can see your local churches and centres, but actually there's loads of online stuff. So in fact, tonight, folks, I'm working with a wonderful medium in California. Good evening, Nadina Hatch, you're new. Welcome to SPTV UK. So Casey, my girl Casey, has been on this show with me a couple of times, and I'm working on Zoom. You can get tickets at myspiritualevents.co.uk. It's a sort of almost, I don't know if you'd call it a sister sort of concept of SPTV, but very much behind the brain and energy of producer. Katie Catherine says hi from Scotland. Hiya Katie, welcome to you. And as I get the next question come in, I will move on to that. So Alison Lett says, how do you know if you're on the right track of your life path? Oh, great question, Alison. The card I've just drawn for you is the Peace card, and look at this beautiful stained glass window in there. Now, I feel that as I was drawing that card and I was thinking about your question, that the first thing I wanted to do is surround you by this sense of peace, that beautiful stained glass, all the vibrant color. It's beautiful all the time, but when the light is rising and we know that the sun rises in the east and it starts to set on that sun, there's an element of being prepared for that. And I want to talk about your right track as the sun rises in the east, about knowing it rises in the east, finding where the east is, turning to face that sun as like all good sunflowers would do, and then tracking the concept of that sun as it approaches its meridian. And as the sun comes through that stained glass, know that the sun's at its meridian, you are in the right place. Now, you would understand that by that sense of elastic, Alison, keeping you on that track, pulling you along, pulling you that way. And as the light on that card shines in the beautiful church, chapel, centre, palace of rest, there was... yeah, okay. Really, there was something about the church. My guide, who's Bob, was just saying to me, really read the card because it's about that church and centre. It's about you finding that centre of peace. And that card stands for peace, reconciliation. Now, there's something about reconciling with a person, and because we was talking about the church, I feel like there's an element of faith and belief and some sort of organization or infrastructure. We'd understand the need to reconcile and to move on, because that religious element, your faith and belief being quite private to all of us, private within your heart, within the card of peace and the beautiful light, as the light shines through there, you've got this healing mandala, beautiful colors all coming together. And I surround you with this sense of purple and healing. I'm sending you love, light and healing. And I talk about the togetherness personalities. You would understand the concept of a healing personality in your life at the moment. So Alison, keep filling that elastic, recognizing that as you move along, you will feel the difference between moving backwards, slipping sideways, or moving forward, because the elastic is pulling you along. Surrender to your inner guide, your higher self, telling you to keep pulling on that way. And if you feel the pull of that intuition and that instinct, then you know you're so there's no really wrong. So on that track is perhaps something that you've agreed to when incarnating, Addison. Perhaps it's something you've chose to, and that your right track of your life past is an element of destiny, an element of choice involved at the point of conception and incarnation. But of course, you've got free will and eradicated memory and the opportunity of free will and desire to do whatever you want, and everyone around you for them to do whatever you want. And our in pursuit of happiness and in pursuit of experiencing everything, there's just that little piece of elastic and our guide keeping to pull us towards some of the things we really must do during this experience. So yeah, instinct and intuition, that link up with your guide and your higher self, then you absolutely know that is right. Thank you, Alison. That was a good question, and hopefully you've understood the concept of the card and me reading for you in that sense. Folks, you don't have to give us feedback. Oh, go on, Richard. So producer was just advising that some of you might have got a couple of glitches. We've been at the kids disco today. I was saying to Richard, we've been fundraising in support of my kids' school. So all three boys are no doubt streaming something on various channels and TV across the place. So apologies for that. They'll be fed, watered, and bathed very soon and in bed. And hopefully the internet will sort itself out. Hiya, Clara. Hello to you. I missed a question there that just flashed up. Christine Davis. Good evening to you. Lovely, Christine. Lovely to see your name again. Suzanne says, do you believe in karma? I do, Suzanne. I do believe in the concept of karma. In fact, to dedicate an entire show, once a month, folks, I dedicate the show to one particular subject. I spoke about karma, and I spoke about the concept of karma credits and karma debit. And karma debts may be something which would stop us from progressing in the next experience, the next life. Because as a spiritualist, I believe that there is a pathway open to progress for all of us. And when our body goes through that change called death, our life after life is an opportunity to progress. Now, if we accumulate too much karma debt, negativity based on our negativity or our bad decisions, perhaps even poor, nasty, evil, sort of dark decisions, then perhaps we're going to be unable to continue to progress upwards within the spirit world without working off some of that debt. Now, I do believe within our earthly life and experience, the concept of karma can play out dynamically. And you see lots of examples of that. There's some great little videos and stills and shorts and stuff on YouTube. We talk about instant karma, where someone makes a decision and something sort of comes back. The universe finds a way to pinch them back. I think that can happen. I think that because of our free will and because of that last question there about life path, we might not be aware of all the negativity and all the negative sort of decisions we make until perhaps the end of our life, when we weigh up ourselves and we find ourselves looking at our detriments of character and sort of decision. Think about my late great uncle Tony, who recently ascended to heaven just before Christmas. And I remember having a chat with him in his earthly life about some of the decisions he'd made, in his 80 years on Earth, and whether or not there'd be an element of him being worried to sort of face up to all of that. And actually, I think it's about the accumulation. I mentioned to Richard fundraising at school. It's my kids' Catholic primary school. And there's an element within Catholicism about, asking the priest for forgiveness, saying a certain amount of, Hail Marys and, forgiveness, that you can perhaps right the wrongs and you can sort of, make up for that karma within this life. I believe far more in personal responsibility. I think if you've done something wrong or nasty or evil or dark, then the only person that can really forgive you is the person that you've done that thing against. I also think that within ourselves, there's an element of accepting what's going on in life. There's an element of forgiving ourselves and being forgiven and sort of moving on. So all of that can happen within this life. But yeah, I do think it's possible. We get to the end of the life and we look at it all and we say, right, let's go back to that life decision and the destiny, all the things I said I was going to do. And actually, that's all checked out. Life purpose, mission accomplished. But then you look at it and you think, oh, actually, looking back at that wonderful life I chose for myself, that wonderful, healthy conception and birth and pregnancy, where I was born into a family in a wonderful part of the world where nothing ever went wrong and it was never too hot and never too cold and always had more food than I ever needed, and this wonderful set of staff and servants around me that made my life very comfortable and a wonderful place. I look back at that and think, I wasn't a bad person, but to a certain extent I was reliant on the people around me that gave me constant service. Perhaps I loved conditionally as opposed to unconditionally. And therefore, in the next life, I'm going to choose to be one of those servants in a similar situation. So perhaps work off some of that karma debt. Perhaps I just want to experience it in a different way. So, yeah, really good question, Susan. Could speak about karma and the concept of karma for hours. But I think I've answered the question. Yes, I believe in it. And to a certain extent, I've given you an example of karma. Now, the card that I've just drawn for you is the work card. Okay, and I want to say that you are working for the orange brass cog, that giant cylinder in the middle. You are one of the cogs in this huge system working around. And all these little cogs are driving other cogs, and they're driving the chain, and the chain is driving the brass thing. And there's something about situation you're in right now, and I want to say that it's not necessarily professional work that you are being paid for, Suzanne, but there's a concept of you providing service, doing something for someone else, and the harder you work, the better it is for someone else. And I think that you would understand this in your life right now, Susan. You'd understand that you are part of something bigger, and that you're coming together with others, lots of these in-connecting sort of wheels and cogs, and they're making up this sort of something about age here, antique, and this sort of complex antique machine, just like the card there, you know, old cogs. And I want to say that the old sense, that antique, it's more about knowledge and wisdom. Okay, but one small cutting edge wheel untouched by the rest at the center of the universe. You understand at the moment about you working quite hard to enable and facilitate someone else in the middle, Suzanne. So that card was for you. So you don't have to give us feedback, folks. If you want to give feedback, particularly if it's wrong, tell me. I'll take that as a challenge to get it right and get it more accurate for you. But if it all makes sense as well, then do give us that feedback too. Great question, Suzanne. I thank you very much. I appreciate that. I don't know if that's your boys in that picture with the Xbox. I've got 3 little boys, you know, big into their gaming. Mr. Phil Shaw, good evening to you. Says hello to me and Rich and everyone online. Folks, for those that don't know a lot about me, I'm based in South London in the UK. My church, where I'm vice president, Women of Spiritualist Church, and our sister church, Hatbridge, back up and running. I was doing mediumship last Friday at Hatbridge Church. It's still this sense of post-normality, post-COVID new normality. Earlier on, Phil's going to be in our church at Hatbridge very soon, be part of our Spirit Seeker weekend at Wimbledon as well. Sharon Thomas says, how do you deal with toxic people? Really good question, Sharon. This week, the last 7 days and the last 2 weeks since I'm on the show, has been particularly difficult for me, Sharon. And I've had lots of contact with lots of toxic people. Ordinarily, I deal with toxic people by avoiding them, circumventing, overcoming the situation and adapting to avoid them. But I've had to be around a lot of toxic people, both in my personal life, my work life, and within some of my hobbies. And it's been hard work, Sharon. They're like vampires. Like energy vampires. And as an empath, I do kind of absorb sort of people's feelings. I'm an extrovert as well. I do get my energy from people. And I found it hard. And I'll be really honest. This morning, I was really stressed out and I was moaning about it. And realized I hadn't really been talking too much. And I'm very lucky. I'm married to my best friend, my wife, Claire. And we do get to talk. And I was moaning to my mum, who was with me this morning, helping me because I had to go and get some blood tests done. And my headspace, because I'd let these toxic people get to me, my headspace was not in a good place. I actually had a minor car accident this morning. Very embarrassed about that because although there was no other people involved, I managed to hit a stationary object and do some damage to the car. I'm absolutely fine. The car's pretty well damaged. Felt like an absolute idiot. I was trying to do too much. I wasn't thinking properly. So actually, one of the things, if you don't deal with toxic people in your life, it affects you. Because toxic is toxic. And if you go anywhere near toxic, it causes you harm. And actually this week, dealing with toxic people badly, by not dealing with it, by not talking about it, it's affected me. And the fact is that someone else's attitude, if it's toxic, so a toxic attitude will affect someone's behavior. Their behavior will become toxic. And when you make contact with it, if you don't recognize that, if you don't intervene, then their attitude and behavior affect your attitude and behavior. So, but I think it's Batara's box, and it just keep going. Attitude affects behavior, affects my attitude, affects my behavior, affects your attitude, affects your behavior. And you can be stuck in this cycle. And as an example of that, been a little bit more short-tempered. I've been a little bit tetchy. I've probably raised my voice more than I would like to of my kids. And this is me showing a vulnerable side. I'm a spiritualist medium, spiritualist minister and counsellor. But yeah, I have bad days. I have bad weeks from a mental health point of view. And I am far from perfect. Because I don't want to be the type of dad that raises their voice to the kids. And Sometimes I lose my temper and it gets me there. So yeah, not dealing with toxic people, it's going to make you toxic. It's going to rub off on you. So how do you deal with it? Well, you deal with it if you can by avoiding them. You also need to be able to close yourself down. And if you are like me and you're a bit of an empath and you pick up on people's energy, if you're an extrovert and you get your energy from other people, you need to recognize that you are in the company with toxic people. You have to remember the serenity prayer. If you have the ability and you're in a situation where you can control what's happening with these toxic people, as I said, cross the road, circumvent, adapt, do that. If you can't, you can only control the reaction and your reaction to it. You need to go back to Batara's box. And do not let their behavior and attitude affect your behavior and attitude. You need to make that intervention. You need to withdraw yourself from it. I've meditated every night this week. I've also gone off and I've had some healing because I could see that my mental health was in a sort of downward spiral. That's as a result of dealing with some toxic people the last couple of weeks. But this week, particularly difficult. So invest in yourself. Ask the universe for help. Ask other people for help when you are feeling like that. And hopefully, although I've said about feeling vulnerable, you realize that by feeling vulnerable in a psychologically safe space, it's absolutely okay. And I do feel safe. I know I'm online and the internet is full of trolls. Not only do I trust my producer, Richard, to delete those comments before I get anywhere near them, but even if something flashed up, I trust you as a community to sort of police that and look after me. So this actually is a really good psychological space for me in terms of psychological safety. I feel like I can be me. I feel like I can be authentic. I feel like I can share what's going on in my mindset. And dealing with toxic people, if you can be authentic, if you can be yourself, if you can bring all of yourself to what you're doing, and I like to think that I'm being authentic right now and I'm bringing all of myself to this show, then actually I start to feel better. I actually ask for help and I reach out and ask for help. But the important thing is not to do that too late. Sharon, if we were going to the dance, to learn to dance 10 minutes beforehand is not good enough. We've got to invest in ourselves time. Look to take that daily advancement, as well as meditating and counting my blessings, which I try and do on a daily basis, as well as those affirmations about feeling sort of positive, healthy and fit. You have to recognize that perhaps these people are spiritually sick and it's really difficult. And again, I'm going to show you, the results of this week, because when people are that toxic and it rubs off for me, you start to dislike them. I'll be honest, I've disliked a lot of people because they've wound me up. And the reaction, if you like, the automatic reaction, the subconscious reaction is to dislike these people. Actually, if I can get to the point, which is where I'm actually starting to get to tonight, I think as a result of this show, to a certain extent, Sharon, as a result of your question, you recognize that these people need love, they need light, they need to be surrounded by love and light. And actually, what I'm going to be doing, and I'm doing it for now, just by opening myself up to it, is thinking, please, Mother Earth, Father God, pray for these people, send them your love and light and infinite wisdom and guidance, because they're not a well person. Maybe they don't even know going on. Maybe they're oblivious to reactions, but they're rubbing me up the wrong way and they're rubbing up others. And I love them. I love them as my brother and my sister. And I'm going to do it unconditionally, rather than my automatic subconscious saying, well, I'm only going to start to even like you if you react in a certain way. Actually, loving that situation, sending love back to it unconditionally, regardless of their behavior and their attitude. And that is me coming into Batara's box and stopping that off. So think about Batara's box, think about the serenity prayer, recognize the situations you can react to, the situations you can control, having the courage to keep going and getting through that. And then surrendering yourself, giving it back to the universe, asking them to sort of carry you forward. And it will make them better and it will make the situation better. I said my mental health has been quite low. I already felt better preparing for this show tonight. That is the love of spirit when we start to work with spirit. And actually, Sharon, I feel that your question had an element of that love in it. So thank you, Sharon, for asking me that question. And folks, thanks for listening. While I opened up and was able to share bit of a therapy session, online therapy session there. Group therapy, thank you very much. Sharon, I've drawn the card of friendship for you. Will you be my friend, Sharon? this card here, look, there's a lady there. She's got two guys sat at the table. There's the parrot in the background. I love this card because there's so much going on. Rum, brandy, hock are what's listed on the ingredients of the card. I've got crossed legs of the friendship. One of the guys is putting his hand on the lady's shoulder, and I like to think that was with consent, because we don't touch people without consent, do we, folks? But yeah, he's reassuring her and he's letting her know that it's going to be okay. When you talk, this is a medieval deal. I'm trying to think. It's all about the human heart. It talks about comrades. I love that. Three comrades are seen drinking in the tavern. I love the old sort of English, sort of tavern. A hint of hint of fourth about to join them. So wines and spirits in barrels in the background, and an exotic bird. An exotic bird. In parts of London, you talk about an exotic bird in the pub, you're actually talking about a young lady who's caught your eye. So hopefully that banter or that misunderstanding is not lost on friends across the pond. But the exotic bird in this case is the parrot. You've got all those spirits in the background. But actually, when you're talking about the friends here, you're talking about the atmosphere. And he talked about the atmosphere of friends and unconditional love. And there was us, Sharon, just talking about how we deal with toxic people. Surround yourself with people that love you and that you love them. You've got that hand of reassurance coming out of them. Reach out to people. Ask for help. Don't wait until it's too late and it's 10 minutes before the dance. The atmosphere is cheerful. In this situation, the beer is flowing. Obviously, we can't. I'm going to make that more of a metaphor, because some people depend on alcohol. They can't drink it anymore. It's toxic for them. Perhaps alcohol brings out toxic and bad sides of people. I've always been quite a happy drunk, and actually alcohol has kind of elevated that mood. Certainly with bouts of depression, alcohol is not a good idea. So that experience is experiencing with friends, and this card is therefore about the aspect of life that centers around friendships. I spoke about being an extrovert, getting my energy from other people, about finding the introverted side of me, finding that energy from within, because social skills, our emotional and our human intelligence, really important when we're around toxic people that perhaps aren't reading the room. And it stands for I suppose there's an element of parties, but not necessarily partying. It's about energy. It's about getting together, doing that both online, offline, in person, and surrounding yourself with that network of people. So, Sharon, I do hope that card makes sense, folks. I do hope you understand my answer to the question. And thank you for listening. Thank you for creating a psychologically safe space. And I say it's a live audience, so that you could argue that the psychologically safe space could change at any moment, any time, based on who is here. But what a wonderful community SPTV UK is. Absolutely incredible. And when I first met Richard, I absolutely loved everything that he was trying to do. Everything, because he was trying to bring like-minded people together. This channel stands for so much more. And it's free. It's 100% free, folks. And you've got the opportunity, to come together, make friendships, and see a whole vast of different hosts. Phil Shaw reminded me that the rugby, the Six Nations, is indeed on tonight. Yeah, it started at 8:00. France and Ireland. And to be here being spiritual. And rugby is a big way of me offsetting both playing and watching. So yeah, I'm missing the rugby tonight, folks, but it's wonderful to be with you all. Sophie Parker, my lovely cousin, good evening to you, Sophie. Sophie and I were chatting about an hour ago, and I'm going to try and get her back on the show. Sophie is a wonderful, gifted artist. She's been a lot of lovely spirit. I'm going to get back on the show soon, and we'll do another double demonstration of mediumship and psychic arts. Catley 22 says, how can you tell if the spirit of your loved one is thank you? Well, they always are. Your own loved, I always find it more difficult, I should say, more challenging in terms of evidence to feel the difference of that energy of who it is, because our loved one's always around us, especially in my family. They're really nosy and they like to know what's going on. So the spirit world and this world, I think, are very much the same thing. I think that the spirit world, heaven, is kind of interfaced with planet Earth and this sort of 3D experience, that it's kind of just bubbling away at a slightly different energy level. People talk about this, earthly experience in the 3D, the third dimension, perhaps the fourth dimension being, slightly faster energy, a bit of a limbo and corridor to heaven. The spirit world are the sort of fifth dimensions, or the start of those spirit worlds. Jesus used to talk about a mansion, or a mansion, or a house with many mansions, a mansion with many houses. The idea being that there's lots and lots to it. So they're always around us. In terms of them making sort of direct connections, for me, I still rely on the interface of my guides. I have less of a relationship when it comes to mediumship with my life guide, and we've all got at least one principal guide that is with us for our entire earthly experience. Well, our mediumship guide, Bob Brunton, and he works with another guy, Running Bear. They interface to me, so I think, is that you, Nan? And then my nan will give me, the presence of what she is, and then I'll actually look for Bob, because I always see Bob as like my sort of doorkeeper, and he's like, yeah, it's your nan. Sending a love, checking in on you, and actually sort of doing that. Feel like my nan, my dad's mum, Hazel, is actually around me now, and she's just giving me this wonderful smell, and now she's competing with my nanny June. Now, I didn't know they were there. I knew that they were, but in talking to you about evidence, Bob said that they're going to give you evidence. So my nanny June is just giving me the smell of cookies. Now, she did a lot of baking and cooking, my nan. Didn't always cook cookies, but I remember that smell, and she's taking me straight back to a memory of her cooking those cookies. Because my nanny Hazel, I've been thinking about last week about spaghetti bolognese, which was one of my favourite meals to cook with my nan. That and shepherd's pie, which I did for a few Cubs and Scouts badges, and she was just giving me those memories. So memories is one way that spirit can influence us, when it's really vivid. Okay, when it's really vivid, when the colours are more vivid, when the smells are more vivid, and it's really coming to life. That for me is my sort of double tick, by verification. Not a robot, definitely spirit. It's not just a memory, it's because it's that more vividness. So look for the vividness. So run a little experiment, Kate run a little experiment and think, right, what colour were my socks yesterday? Right, that's a memory. Spirit, now give me a different colour, and see the difference between your memory of a colour and the vividness of a colour when spirits are working within your mind's eye. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question. I think it's Catley. I want to call you Cat22. Cat22, and then it sort of segues. It's weird because the card I've just drawn for your Lowlands branding contest, Catley 22, Cat 22, Catch 22, and it's either you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Stuck between a rock and a hard place. And I've just drawn this card for you, the Tower. Okay, look at that beautiful tower at the top of the hill fort. 3 stories. This one is triangle. 3 stories, 3 turrets. Within the tower, I want to place you, Kat. I want to place you in the tower because I feel like we need to help you see the big picture. I want to say that you're good at seeing the big picture, but actually part of elevating you is you don't just want to see risks and threats. You want to see opportunities, and opportunities are everywhere for you. And now's in the right time. You're at the top of the hill. You're at the top of the tower. You can see what's coming. You can see the opportunities, and it's really, really nice opportunities. This tower, this beautiful tower standing within the castle, there it is on the hillside. Okay, so thinking about medieval castles now. Is there a moat? Is there, because you can't see from the card I'm looking at now, is there any sort of fortification? How do you get in? Where's the staircase? And there's an element of, right, there you are, we're elevated top of the hill fort, but how do we get in? Because I'm looking for a visible door. Proud, stern, unyielding door, maybe a portcullis, maybe a door that goes over that moat. We need a way in, because not only do you need to let us in, we need to get you back out. Because there you are looking for these opportunities. You see the opportunities coming. We need to get you out. At the moment, it's like Rapunzel's tower. You're going to have to let your hair down and perhaps climb. Someone can climb in, or you can cut the hair off and sort of climb down. But I want to talk about achievements. Okay, so there you are in your castle, in your tower. This card often stands for achievements. Achievements gained in the face of adversity. And Catch 22. there wasn't a there wasn't a right way out of this, but you did it, Kat. You absolutely did it, and you've got through. And I want to recognise that achievement. You've done that in the face of adversity. It reflects that sometimes arrogant consciousness of mind can represent the unconscious mind beneath it, and there's this element of your subconscious thoughts driving you to the right place, and your conscious thinking just did what you thought was right. Moral courage. You did what was right in this situation, what you thought was the right thing to do, what was the socially responsible thing to do, even if it wasn't in your best interests. Okay. I also want to say that there's a message that pride that goes before a fall can also stand for male sexuality, says the card deck, the sort of tower, and, you know, standing erect. Got to be careful. It's not 9 o'clock yet, is it? But we're talking about male sexuality, the tower standing erect at the top of the hill. Masculine energy, and I want to give you some confidence, and I want to recognize your achievement. I want to put you on the top of the tower, but everyone to see you. Look, there she is, and she did a thing, and she did it well. Okay, Catley 22. Hopefully that makes sense for you. And good question. Princess Sharon says, "Hi Ash, with us, and I'm so sorry that your dad and your stepdad have gone through and are going through what they're going." Absolutely. As a spiritualist medium, when people come through, they often give the true things. Lots of the time, that's very uplifting, and they talk about the love and the light. Sometimes they come through and they're irritated, or they're fed up, or they don't like the fella you're with, or the girl you're with, or they don't like the boss you work for. That comes through too. If they were cheeky, if they were rude, if they were direct, if they often commented without filter, all of that comes through. But they definitely feel our feelings. They're able to pick up on that sort of that psychic signal, you know, that empathy. They can see what's going on. So yeah, they do. I'm not a spiritualist, DJ Angela, so I can't take requests and I can't bring through someone in specific. But I do have a communicator with me, Angela. This communicators claiming to be your family, and he's showing me the wedding ring finger. Now you've said stepdad, okay, and I don't know if this stepdad, and we always say to be a good member of the congregation, never feed a medium. So I'm going to give you this communicator in isolation. This man that claims to know, that talks about being family, talks about wedding ring finger, and he talks about his wedding ring being continued. And you would have you don't have his ring, you have someone else's ring that he was just talking about. I don't know if it was your mum's, or your mum's got your dad's ring. Okay, so I don't know if that's your stepdad's ring that your mum has got, but you've got someone else's ring which is also not yours. Okay, that he was talking about that. He was giving me a birthday very similar to mine. So I'm the 29th of September, and he's taking me back one. I've got the summer birthday. I feel I'm in August, because he's talking about Augustine and August. And I feel like the 29 was significant. So there's me, 29 of September. I'm over the summer. I think I'm in August, because that's what he kept showing me. There's a significance of a birthday there, and there's a Ted. Okay, and I don't think he's talking about a cuddly Ted, a name Ted. I've got T for tango. You'd understand this. To the T. You, Angela, and this communicator both know the T. The T is important. I've also got an anniversary of passing, just as we're leaving winter and into spring, sort of February. Okay, it's coming around now. So we're into the beginning of February. We're a little bit further. There's an anniversary of a passing as well that you would understand. So I believe you'll be able to take all of that, Angela. If you can't take any of it, please do comment back. I'll take the challenge of a no, and I'll ask them to explain more. But I do hope that makes sense, and I do hope I've answered your question. Sending you some love and light, and also if it's okay to send some love, light, and spiritual healing to your dad. Okay, God bless you. Best wishes, Angela. Thank you for sharing. Okay. And I say anyone that's able to verify anything that I've read for you tonight is always good. Cindy Riddle, hello from Kentucky. Good evening, Cindy from Kentucky. Kentucky, one of my favorite places in the world. And I've got a very good pen pal also called Ashley, that lives in Sudbury, Kentucky. We've only met the once, but I have a lot of love for this lady, her family, have all let me really enter to their family and their lives. Probably 2011 was the actual time I visited. Beautiful part of the world, and I did get to go and visit the home of Uncle Jack Daniels in Tennessee while I was in Kentucky last time, which was really great to do. But hi, Cindy, nice to hear from you. Sam B says, how do I know what my purpose is in life? Oh, that's a good and deep question, isn't it? I suppose that's the mission for all of us, Sam. What is our purpose in life? Well, at a high level, Sam, our purpose in life is to experience everything, everything we can, do everything we can, see everything we can, feel everything we can, full of the emotions, see as much as we can, find love unconditionally, receive love unconditionally, do things that we love over and over again with people we love. At a high level, that is the purpose of all of our lives. Now, as we start to think about perhaps a deeper connection, the concept of destiny, perhaps even the concept of reincarnation, of choosing certain things, it's about figuring it out. It's about pulling on that tight elastic that is driving us or pushing us or pulling us, and knowing that it's all for a reason. Because everything that does happen in this life, Sam, was meant to happen. I believe that. Some of it may have been designed, and there may have been an element of destiny at play, but all of it was meant to be, and all of it will be part of the experience. So live our life, keep living our life, and make sure that the only regrets we perhaps have are the things we didn't do, that everything else is chalked up to that experience. You could continue to sort of look within yourself at a higher self. Lots of that can be accomplished via meditation and attunement, and asking about what feels right and what doesn't. But you have free will to decide what is right. Your guide might be there, like your consciousness, to help you know the difference between right and wrong, and your guides might be there giving you a bit of advice on what to, the more learning and development you do, the greater you'll see there. But remember that your guide, if they're in the spirit world, they've got a walkie-talkie, Sam, and you just need to work out the best way of communicating and interfacing and engaging with your guide in order to continue to check in. Because if they've got the map, if they've got the mission, then the best way of finding out more about your mission and your purpose is in checking in with them. But recognize that everything you're doing is part of your purpose. Because if we were meant to know the mission at the point of conception, we would keep that right through for incarnation. We would have it as a baby imprinted to us, and we'd understand that purpose. So know that everything is that purpose. So yeah, good question, Sam. I hope I've answered that well. And I've actually drawn the stars card for you. So here's the stars card, and look at all those stars. And I'm watching TV. I've been watching For All Mankind, which I must admit I loved as a show, and it is reinvigorated my love of everything sort of in the universe and space on other planets, and thinking about those stars, and are all those stars, burning, sort of dying stars out there somewhere that we can sort of see in the universe. It's finding out a little bit more about you. Going to do it, and what are you going to do? Because within the stars card, it's about the patterns. It's about recognizing the patterns in life. And here you are talking about the mission. You got your babies, moved on, next sort of chapter. But from an astrological term, and if you think about the astrology, spoke about my birthday a little while ago, Libra 29th, and how the meaning of that in the stars. But the star charts, and on this card, the star chart there, it's imposed on a star-studded mystery of the night sky. So I want to say, chin off your chest, Sam, look upwards. We talk about a rising of energy into the spirit worlds and dimensions. Keep your chin off your chest, look upwards, and think about that night sky. The stars stand for an individual's deepest aspirations and inner goals, for the heights of intellectual and artistic achievements, together with the external part of our nature. Also represented within this card, this beautiful card here, is that the astrological cycles pass through over and over again throughout our lives. So there's a continuation. The universe is forever expanding in an infinite sort of space. So on keeping on, Sam. Card makes sense. Fill that space with things that you love doing with people that you'll love spending time with. Thank you very much, Sam. Keep the questions coming, folks. Some good questions. So it's not a fixed subject as such tonight. We're going through. I'm trying to do some readings and some questions for you here. Natalie Stoneham says, "You look so well, Ash. I last saw you at Chi Spiritualist Church. I wonder if that was Chichester Spiritualist Church. Hiya, Natalie. Lovely to have you on the show tonight. Thank you very much. I like to think that you always look well too. For those that do know me and know me well, will know that as well as my mental health, I've had a physical health journey. For those that have seen the banner of this show, so that first photograph in the black T-shirt, I was about 32 stone in weight. Trying to think for the Americans and the others in sort of kilograms, about 207 kilograms. 32 times sort of 14 pounds, what's that, coming up to about 400 pounds. Very, very killing myself earlier than was destined, and I wasn't going to live the long and healthy life that was perhaps possible for me. And in fact, when baby number 3, Oscar, who's now almost 2, was on the way, my doctor said, you won't see him as teenagers, you are going to die earlier. And that hit me in that plain English, because I was oblivious to the fact I was eating and drinking myself to death. So a lot healthier now, lost about 12.5 stone, and feeling a lot healthier. Out of all the intimate risks of physical health, just got to continue to work on the mental health. That's a journey every day, isn't it? Thank you very much for that comment. Alicia Jane, how do you know if you're an empath? Good question, Alicia. I mean, I've mentioned that I believe I'm an empath. If we think about empathy and how that is different from sympathy, and I'm not going to do a sort of thesaurus and dictionary sort of definition of the two, but when we're showing sympathy, we can we've perhaps been in the situation. Whereas when we're showing empathy, we can understand, even if we haven't been in that situation, what they're going through. As an empath, I think lots of people within spiritualism and the psychic world are empaths. And we talk about the fact that we're sort of feeling feelings as well as seeing the attitude and behavior reactions. So the way we behave as a result of how we're feeling, our sort of behaviors and our values is there. As an empath, it's almost like you're feeling their happiness, you're feeling their sadness, you're feeling their anxiety, you're feeling the toxic nature of that. And if you're the type of person that you feel like you've been eaten alive by a vampire, like an energy vampire, you might be more of an empath. Equally, if you're in good company of people and you come away with that exciting, exhilarating feeling, that charge, then you might be getting charged off people. Indeed, you might be a battery and you might charge others. So I think we all have the ability to duck in and out of this. Some of us, I think, are naturally more of an open empath. I talk about being able to be an empath and sort of to feel those feelings. I see a lot of auras and colors and stuff like that, but I do consciously close myself down to it. It's great when you're around good people and you have that energy exchange. It's lovely to be around friends and family, people you have in that intimate space, hugging and really feeling that sort of love and energy transfer. I had a wonderful massage with a friend, Lorena, who might be watching the show tonight, and there's that moment when you sort of get vulnerable and you invite someone to be in that intimate space, friends and family, people you can kiss and hug, and you can feel that energy exchange. It's incredible, absolutely incredible to sort of feel that energy exchange. You can do that with eye gazing and looking people right into people's eyes as well, doing with consent. Hugging someone that doesn't want you to hug them, even shaking their hand when they don't want to shake hands, looking someone in the eyes when they don't want to, feels totally different. And again, there's an element of empathy there, an empath there. So a lot of this for me is about understanding that energy transfer. Doing things with consent is really powerful. I'm a hugger. Those that know me know that I like a hug. I like to be hugged. I like to give a hug. And my friend Casey, that was talked about earlier on, who I'm doing mediumship with tomorrow night on Zoom, tickets on my spiritual events. Casey spoke about that concept of even if someone wants a hug, asking them and said, looking them right in the eyes now and said, is it all right if I have a hug? Can I hug you? And then sort of, putting the arms out, giving them that hug, going heart to heart. that feels absolutely incredible when someone really wants you to do that and you sort of stop and embrace. You can close that down because you might not want it. When I'm getting into a lift or on a packed underground tube in central London, I don't want to feel anyone's energy, and I certainly don't want to feel that hand that perhaps is on my backside now, because it's all about someone is in my intimate space and my intimate zone, not with invitation and not with consent, because I'm having to tolerate it. So I'm closing down that ability to involve. I don't really want to feed on that. Other times, when I see things, it opens up a bit more. So sometimes, when I see a beautiful little innocent baby, new incarnations of the world, can't help but it's lovely, and you get that lovely sort of feeling. When I've seen people with a sort of disability that's more visible, I've sort of instantly wanted to send sort of love and light. I think, well, they haven't asked me to do that. Just because I've noticed that their disability was visible as opposed to invisible doesn't mean they wanted me to do that. So a lot of this cycles around that concept of consent and understanding when it's appropriate, when it's not to, and if someone wants you to read them, and whether or not you want to be read, and protecting yourself, dumping any of the negativity, saging all the toxic sort of stuff out of it. So going back in plain English, how do you know if you're an empath? Because you feel it. It's all about feelings. And actually, if you don't feel but you think you're an empath, I'd like to know from you tonight, how do you know that you're an empath when you don't feel any of those feelings and any of those things? So really good question. Bit of extra context from there from Alicia, who says, this explains some of the things that have been happening to me. Just being around people, I feel charged, and then sometimes I feel really drained, down, almost like I can't be around certain individuals. Yeah, and actually that's a great way of spotting the toxic individuals in our life that we need to sort of cut out, that can be like little energy vampires and steal it. Maybe they need it. And sometimes I think, you know what, you can have that much, and then boom, I'm cutting you off and out of my life. That I put on the sort of the sort of chain of armor and body armor over the sort of top of me. So yeah, great question there. The card I've drawn for you is the home card. Here it is. Look at that beautiful home there within the card. So I always call this my medieval deck. I don't know why I call it my medieval. I think it's because so many of the things remind me of Old England, but it's actually the Psy card. Well, I'm trying to think of the box. My mum gave me these cards. The Great Game of the Human Heart, a guide to the understanding of the psychic cards, systems, and symbols. I love the illustrations in here. And yeah, I call them my medieval deck. But within this home, let's see, you can see. So we've got the plates. We've got the plates at the top of the home, and I always think about us owning more plates. Alicia, I want to talk about the fact that you've got more capacity for people above you, and you're putting yourself on the back burner. You've got more plates. You are welcoming people coming into your life and into your home. You've got some spoons above the fireplace ready to feed, and you're going to share what you have. We've got the wonderful fire there. There's a lovely cat that's sort of curled up in front of the fire. We've got the chair there. We've got some cups hanging up. We've got some bread, and home is where the heart is. Now, a cozy cottage, you could sort of say there. This little maybe British bit of countryside. Now I'm getting this sort of vision. Lovely little cottage there, somewhere cozy. And I love the fire. We were away first week, my wife and I, on the Cotswolds, in the countryside for us outside of London, and it was lovely. I love getting the old log burner going. Probably too many logs at one point, and overheated the entire place. But I love that, and I love the crackle of the fire, and it gives me this real sense of coziness. I think there's something about the primitive nature of my DNA. There's the caveman in there, and he goes, "I make fire," and it makes me feel like a real sort of human being. Even though I used fire lighters and matches, I didn't really make fire. I stopped fire from getting outside of the fire burn. That was about it. But this lovely coziness, and I want to surround you by this coziness, and I want to send you something warm. My nans, both my nans, both went to a place in heaven of their making, because everything was everything they needed to be. They both got the little cottage by the sea, overlooking the sea where they were. And I want to talk about this sense of coziness, this sense of you being grounded in a safe space. The card draws us to our background and the security we all need from the warm, comforting environment of home. It represents the trusted, simple things in our lives that we sometimes undervalue. Now, for some people, they've come from broken homes, or their home was a dangerous place and they couldn't wait to be out of it. But this card is symbolizing a healthy home, that you have made a home of happiness and love. So thank you very much, Alicia, for your questions. I do hope that the card has made sense to you. 9 o'clock. We've been chatting away for an hour already, folks. How are you enjoying the show? Give us some 60-minute feedback. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Give us some loves, hearts if you're on Facebook. Give us some emojis, some smiley faces, or some thumbs up in YouTube. I hope you're enjoying this. If reading live and asking questions, hope you've done that. And what we're going to do is we're going to tell you about a couple of other wonderful shows on my friend, the amazing Neil Bryan, and one of his new shows. So we're just going to pause for that, folks, and I'll be right back. We'll be right back.
Introducing the SPTV app, your digital spiritual guide for an enlightening journey like no other. Immerse yourself in a world of audio and visual content crafted to inspire, educate, and entertain. Seek guidance with our card of the day, choosing up to 6 cards for personal insights. Enhance your daily life with our wellness section, featuring nutritious recipes, affirmations, and balanced living tips. Explore our spiritualism section for a deep understanding of the religion, its principles, and spiritual answers. Unravel the secrets of the clairs and broaden your spiritual horizon. Easily find local readers, therapists, centers, or churches with our comprehensive directory. Stay connected with live broadcasts, check our schedule, and get to know our insightful presenters.
We do that question next.
Delve into the meanings of angel numbers, crystals, and a comprehensive list of divination meanings. All of this and more, available for free on the SPTV app. Download now at sptv.uk/app and start your journey with your digital spiritual guide.
Okay, and am I off mute now? Okay, folks, and thanks for coming back. Wonderful opportunity on Sunday and a new show with Neil Bryan. So that is Soulful Insights with Neil Bryan. I love doing psychology with them. I've done a few psychology and spiritualist philosophy with sort of the worlds coming together. Incredible person, very, very talented. Starts Sunday the 4th of February from 7:30 p.m. And if you can get down to London in March, Neil's going to be attending Women of Spiritualist Church in person, running some trauma workshops, and his wonderful partner Helen will be doing some incredible stuff. She's a very gifted psychic artist. She'll be doing some healing and some drumming sessions, and then on the Sunday night, first weekend of March in Wimbledon, we'll be doing psychic art and mediumship with Ivan Lee and Sarah Warman, all of who have been on this show. But yeah, Soulful Insights with Neil Bryan starts Sunday the 4th of February from 7:30 p.m. And welcome back to Being Spiritual. I'm Ashley Robinson, and this is Being Spiritual. I've gone off on a tangent, folks. The spirit energy is keeping me going now, and now I'm running on that wonderful high. Bernie West says, "Is it possible that your spirit guides communicate through dreams?" Absolutely. As a child, and I continue to do so now, I think spirit influenced me through my dreams. I've had a difficult week this week. A couple of the situations I was dreaming about, you could call them nightmares, because I was trying to deal with some of the thoughts that were still going on. And actually, you asked that because I think, do you know what, spirit probably giving me a couple of practical ideas there about exploring the art of the possible in our dream states, because of all the different interfaces, our physical self, our mental self, our spiritual self, and all the bits of the body. Actually, we give it all a bit of a rest. The brain gets a bit of a rest, and our soul, our spirit, can go for a bit of a wander. So yeah, absolutely, they can and do communicate through. Sometimes we remember our dreams, don't we? And again, it's that vividness, I think, that we remember, Bernie. But the card I've just drawn for you, I'm going to give you a bit of context before I show it. Is the card is called the Beast. And the beast looks like a fearful sort of dragon, and you think beast, dragon, this all sort of looks bad or scary. But I'm going to give a bit more context to that, because I love this creature here, and I always see that red as fire and a fire element, and I talk about as being an free, 2 frees there, quite important. But here is this beast, and this beast is your dragon, okay? And I want to surround you with the element of fire, and I feel like I've got a protective elemental here to look after you. This malevolence, but the characteristics of the dragon represent the challenge ahead of us, and the challenges of facing up to evil. And here is this card to help you do that. Now, unless you're actually going toe to toe with someone very evil, I think this is more about a situation with some negativity. And there's this dragon here that just to say, I'm here, I've got your back. I've seen you. I am Protect Fire Elemental Dragon, and here I am because you've got this skill. You have got this. It stands for confrontation with the powerful dark forces of our unconscious mind. So like me, battling some of the demons in my own mind, my mental health not been the best this week. I spoke about my bad temper. This card can stand for bad temper. I think if I was drawing this card for me, that would definitely be like the fact of being more tension temper. But I want to say that you've been battling that, and you've got this dragon to protect you and understand. And it's not with you, but there is a male in your life, and I've got a woman here claiming to be a family that says she knows you. This woman's passed with cancer. Juggling this sort of Jekyll and Hyde personalities, and you have been aware about that and trying to help. Okay, I think Richard said that the internet cut out a little bit there. Bernie, I was just giving you a communicator, a woman claiming to know you. She's claiming to be family, mother, grandmother. She was an auntie. She was a sibling. She was a sister. She's passed with a cancerous type condition. She's given me an anniversary of November. She was telling me that part of this card, the significance of this card was a male in your life, a younger male who is sort of battling almost a sort of Jekyll and Hyde personality, but some of their bad tempers not being particularly helpful at the moment. There's been a spiteful side of their nature. You've been aware of that. You've been trying to help them through that. So accept the love and light of this communicator and know that you have this protector. Bernie says, wow, I can so relate to that. There have been many dark forces at play in the last few days. Well, Bernie, thank you very much for the almost immediate feedback. Not necessary, say, on this platform. I said to Richard during the advert, sort of, the working assumption is you want us to ask a question, you've heard the answer, and that unless you say otherwise, you're happy with the answer, and it all makes sense. It's all true. And when I give a communicator, that all makes sense. Now, from a spiritual sort of teaching point of view, we always say, trust in spirit. You don't need the yeses, and yet as a medium, when I get up at church last Friday, I'm getting up on church last Sunday, you always said, does that make sense? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? You're constantly seeking the yes. And you're doing that for a number of ways. My grandfather, who was a promoter of mediums, used to say that there is an element of audience participation. If 200 people have come into the church and only 10 are getting a reading, you need to keep the rest of the audience, the congregation, engaged. And by interacting with the person and them saying yes and them saying true, you're letting everyone else in the church know that it continues to make sense. Now, online, despite the sort of 10-second delay we have, it becomes really difficult. And I'm really grateful for Richard that catapulted me into mediumship online for the first time during the pandemic. And Richard said to me, look, trust in spirit, give the evidence. They will come back. The community will come back and tell if it doesn't make sense or it looks odd. And it has been a wonderful thing to grow within my own mediumship, because I realized that we all have an element of ego at play. Just to get out of bed, you need enough ego to do that. To get up in a church for the first time and not know what you're going to say until you surrender yourself to the communicator, there's an element of ego at play. But you allow that ego to become too big at play, and then it's just about you and your ego. And there's no place for that online or in churches. So I think you'll understand that, and I was being encouraged to sort of share that side of it. But thank you so much for feeding back for me. I don't believe you were feeding my ego, but it's nice to have the verification. It's nice to know that everyone is getting their questions answered, that it all makes sense, and that you needed that validation. Well, you've got it, Bernie. Thank you very much for doing that. So you've still got a little bit of time, folks, to get some questions in. So final questions in to me. We've been trying to do some on YouTube and some on Facebook tonight. Let's really try and get those sharing numbers up as well. So we want to continue to grow this charity. We want to continue to grow this channel. And, you know, the charity that I'm involved in, United Spiritualist Confederation Limited, that's our holding charity for both Wimbledon and Hackbridge Spiritualist Church. For those of you that are on Facebook, you could find us Wimbledon Spirit or Hackbridge Spirit. That's the sort of tagline for those. Life After Death events. All of these are channels that I've used tonight to share the stream. So you can share the stream as well. But you can also find me across all of the social media channels at Ash Robinson Medium. That's at Ash Robinson, and certainly all the visual channels. I'm quite a visual Instagram, sort of TikTok. Anyone still using Twitter and X? Do you use it for spiritually? Across all of the platforms, you can collect us on all of those channels. Right, Carrie Ann Marshall says, how do I send healing to people? Very much like you've just done now, Carrie. So it's about intention, and with healing, and we've got some really good healers on the show tonight. You know, spiritual healing trainer. There's also another gifted tutor in this space. My sister healer, my wife trained healer, trained for 2 years to be spiritual healing, Spiritualist Confederation Limited. But in terms of sending absent healing, I like to think it's something you can do immediately without too much formal training, because it's about wishing that person well, and it's all about the presence of that moment. So rather than thinking like my mum, okay, so my Robinson, knowing my mum helps, I can think, right, mum, I'm sending you healing. And then I have to think about what is I want. So I know that her mobility is not great. So if I see her mobility getting better, it's going to help. Because I'm sorry, Mum, I'm sending you love. I'm surrounding you in light. I'm asking Mother Earth, Father God. I'm asking and to continue to do that, becoming the me for that energy, and I'm sending it to my mum. Think getting better, I'm almost limiting my power, because if I see my mum as well, my mum is fit, she is strong, she is mobile, she's back playing hockey in the civil service hockey. See her as fit state and making it as maximum as possible. And healing is absolutely incredible. But yeah, knowing where you want to send it always helps. If you don't, send it out and say to the universe, you know where the healing needs to go. I'm sending my love, light, and healing to everybody. We can all do that tonight. Let's all send our love, light, and healing to everyone that needs it. But yeah, having a name helps. Focusing, knowing what they particularly need healing for, that can help as well. And you can do it absent. I definitely recommend you do some sort of training, particularly in the UK and across the pond, places like America, where you can be sued for sort of doing this wrong, even if you've done nothing wrong. You want to get yourself in with a proper organisation, you want to ensure and you want a proper training course and adhere to the sort of policies. So lots of really good training. I'm very biased. I think the United Spiritualist Confederation do a wonderful 2-year training package with Leslie as our healer, a really good thing to do. But you know, there is healing organisations and fraternities all around the world. Some of them will claim to make you a spiritual healer in 20 minutes after a bit of online training. We've just said, of course, from a point of sending healing, everyone can do that within seconds. If you're going to deliver healing and you're going to dedicate yourself to be an actual healer, now that doesn't mean that you can't still be somewhere in the middle. So I'm not a qualified healer. I can give healing. I believe that everyone can give healing. We can all work with the gift of healing, but I don't give spiritual healing at churches or congregations because I'm not qualified to do so. I'm not insured to do so. I'm accredited as a medium, as a counsellor, as a minister, and I stick to those lanes. In my house, when my kids aren't feeling well, do I give them some healing? Yeah, of course I do. When someone asks me to send them some healing, or I ask, is it okay to send you some love and light? I can do that because we can all work with the gifts of healing. But I think, you know, within the professionalism of it to do that properly. So, you know, Leslie and others that are involved in healing, if you've got anything to say, then please do. I'm not offending any sort of Reiki healing. I know that Reiki healing, you can do training quite quickly for that. I'm not trying to undermine that. I've been on the receiving end of Reiki healing. I mentioned my friend Lorena that's got all sorts of healing from places like Argentina and other places all around the world that she's done that. All fantastic, because it all works with the gifts of healing. But I can only talk about what I know, which is why I talk about the sort of my lanes, if you like. And I'm not a qualified healer, but I am aware of the power of healing. So hopefully, Carrie Ann, that answers that question. Hopefully, I've not wound up any healers that are out there, and I've just sort of tried to encourage that sense of continued professional development, about getting yourself with an organization and becoming accredited and becoming insured, because I live in a world, particularly with people that need healing, they're not well. And actually, if something went wrong, you'd want to know that you've done your healing inside that sort of policy received from healing chat. I'm glad you did. And Richard, can you remind me the name of the lady that asked that question, because I don't think I read for her. What terrible short-term memory, folks. Okay, well, thank you very much, Kelly. Who says, does infant spirit stay as a child? I've heard some people say they grow up, others say they stay as a child. It's their choice, Kelly. Really good question. If they want to grow up, then they absolutely can. They don't have to adhere to this on planet Earth around time. They can do it rapidly. They can do it much slower. Equally, when people die, they can go backwards and reduce the amount of time that they had on Earth, so they can reproduce their body without any of the imperfections. Some people say that age is one of the imperfections. They can go back to a sort of a younger age. I've had two, I think three, what I would call failed pregnancies with my wife, where we conceived, and sadly the physical conditions on Earth were unable to support life. Now, I believe, from the evidence I've had from the spirit world, that those conceptions continue to grow up as fetuses and then babies and then children in the spirit world, and that actually I'd be going back probably 15, 20 years since the first pregnancy. My oldest child's now only 9. They became more interested in growing up when spirit were able to incarnate as human beings. And I believe I had twins as a failed pregnancy just before Ethan was born. And I believe that the twins that have wanted to grow up in line with Ethan's sort of age, I've had evidence of them saying goodbye to Ethan at Heaven's Gate at that point of concept, grow up. And there are 2 other babies, I believe, that were possibly girls who are unable to be on Earth. Sort of infant in terms of the physical body, because of course they don't have one and they reproduce, and they're looked after in nurseries, but their spirit being continues to experience as an infant in that spirit world, in the spirit nursery. So yeah, they have the choice, and they can grow up, and others can stay as a child. There is a child, but she often introduces herself as a Victorian child, which was the age was when she passed. So I think it was during the sort of plague era in London, sort of Victorian. She sometimes shows me much grow up in a full. When she comes as a guide, she comes through at the age that she passed, and she gave evidence to my father when I was just a baby. So you've got to imagine, my dad is running a circle, my mum who's pregnant with me, so I'm sitting in circle as a fetus. This guide came through to my dad and said, I'm actually not your guide, I'm going to be working with your son, and I'm going to choose to grow up when he did. So I think that from an earthly body, she has produced reproduced that to about 40 years old, but often still comes across as a little girl. Kelly says, thank you for that answer. Your experience and wisdom surrounding the subject means a lot. You're very welcome, Kelly. I'll only ever share the truth as I've come to know it as the truth. All of this stuff, folks, is in my humble opinion. So I caveat it by that fact. It's been absolutely with you tonight. Kelly, you asked question of the night, and I'm going to draw the last card of the night for you, which is liberation. There you are, Kelly, on the horse. I want to say you're rescuing someone rather than being rescued. You've left the fortress of the castle. You've had to go past the snake on the path, locked to the door, and you have gone. You are you are hitting the heels, and it feels amazing. It feels exciting. There you are. Possible now that you've broke out. And there's a real sense of freedom and escape. I don't want to talk about a situation at the moment. It feels like that. It feels that you've moved on, and there is freedom and this fantasy world in line with you. And I want to talk about fantasy within your mind's eye, because it feels like you're able to go to a different place and see this element of fantasy, unconditioned this sort of fantasy shows something here, because we're just talking about Neil Bryan. We're talking about his partner Helen. So I'm just going to show this because Helen did this for me. Helen is a very gifted, say, psychic artist, and she often connects all of the different and dimensions that I'm sort of aware of, an animal kingdom and everything else. And Kelly, I want to say that you're able to go to that sort of place of fantasy where things don't necessarily have to add up to the same unconditional law that we have on planet Earth, and that sort of sense for you would be really important. The teaches us that as a pair of lovers dash away on horseback, into the wilderness through the open fortress gateway, they've actually crossed. Okay, so as they've crossed this stream, they've crossed into freedom, and they're free. The lovers are free on the horse. Situation that gets to a new chapter, that crosses this bridge, that feels liberation. I want to talk about this self-love for you and that point of this joyous escape. And it stands for those occasions where often by some sort of outside agency, we are somehow set free to make a new and better life over the bridge, over the river. Note that although the key was in the lock, there was no bolt. Therefore, the card also represents the situations where we're ready for release from within ourselves. And I think that's exactly the point we were getting to, Kelly. You're watching on YouTube tonight, Kelly. You've given us immediate verification as well. And I love that. I love the fact that we can interact with each other in that way, that the card has made sense, that I've answered your question. It's been a really good show from my point of view tonight. One of the things we asked for feedback, didn't we, about 20 minutes ago? I said, give us some love or some heart or some other bits and pieces. I'm also really interested, folks, in whether or not you enjoy the sort of the visual aspect of us broadcasting sort of live on YouTube and book, not you just think so. I goes and does the washing up sort of during the show and enjoys listening to it. And I wondered whether or not there would be any sort of appetite in some sort of podcast. You saw an advert there for the Android app for SPTV UK. If you've got an Android phone, definitely head over to the app store, the Google store, and download SPTV and get that app. Kelly was just saying, wow, amazing art. I definitely enter the fantasy world and create my own world there. I'm feeling the weight dropping off. Brilliant. That's really great feedback. Thank you, Kelly. Yeah, anyone interested in a podcast? Would you like this show to be downloadable as a podcast? Like, you're on the app, you download it, maybe you're going to get in the car on some public transport and you'd like to listen to it on playback. Obviously, it's the 2nd of Feb tonight, but if you're watching the show on playback, do comment. Head over to SPTV fan page on Facebook, drop us a DM on the channel, slide in. I'm too old for the real social chat. Slide into my DMs at Robinson Medium and let me know whether or not you think a podcast would be a good idea. Maybe we could take these shows, convert them to a podcast, and then you could draw them. Lots of you giving us some love and light. About to draw my card of the day on the app. Good. Kelly, great ambassador there for use of the app. And folks, it's been amazing. Definitely podcasts, says Gwenadine. What a beautiful name. I hope I've pronounced that right. And podcasts are great to do. So yeah, maybe we'll look into converting the live show into a podcast that people can download. So not only do you watch it on playback, but if you don't necessarily have a signal, you could watch the show. So but yeah, keep the love and light coming. Mary Dixie says, what I've seen, and Mary was one of my circle leaders, and you've had the final words of the evening, Mary. Folks, good night. God bless. I've been Ashley Robinson. This has been Being Spiritual, and you've been on SPTV UK.